We're good to go.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the rescheduled special meeting, March 2023 of the Oak Hills Park Authority. We'll jump right into things and get started with a call to order and a roll call for attendance. I'll just go in the order that folks appear on my screen, and I'll start with me for a change, Joe Andrasco here. Anybody else, just say here or present when I call your name, please. Gary Leeds.
Here.
Richard Dellinger.
Here.
Alan Dutton.
Yeah.
Peter Trimboli.
Here.
Yeah, here. Jen McAllister is not joined yet. Denise Brown not joined yet. And so we do have 5 for a quorum, so we can get going with reports. I don't think we have any business to vote on this meeting, so that is, we don't really need a quorum, but it's always good to have it just in case something comes up. And I do believe that Jennifer was going to join and Denise will be late. So we should have all the current members eventually. Next order of business is acceptance of minutes from our last meeting, which was also in March, but rescheduled from February. And a draft was sent out a couple of days ago and earlier today. I had looked at them a couple of days ago and didn't see anything really that needed changing. But I also know that Denise had sent out a note knowing that she'd be late and missed this agenda item on just a couple of little changes, some just wording and some thematic that she would like to see made. So we will, I'll have that passed along to the Telesco rep for documentation in this meeting's minutes. And I'll just ask any other members if there are any adjustments or changes that you had to the minutes that were sent around today.
No.
No.
Okay. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from 3/6 as amended with Denise's comments via email. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Any abstain? I didn't hear anybody not say aye. So you guys have it. Those meeting minutes are approved as amended, and we'll send that information, the amendment information, over to Telesco in the next day or two. Next up is public comment. And I do see there's one phone number attendee in the participants list. If anyone would like to make any public comment, please raise your hand and we can promote you to have audio. Okay. Jeff, I don't think anybody raised their hand, right, from the attendees list?
I don't see anyone now.
Okay. Then let's close public comment and move on with the agenda. Jim, I will say, I thought that was a sport coat for a minute. And then my whole world was turned upside down for a second. Report of the chair is next up. And as per my usual, I'll keep it very brief. I think we're going to get better reports from Paul and Jim. And, Mark has already filed his report on the financials, which look good. But, it's getting into spring. It's kind of a earlier spring. I know Jim was just mentioning that, things are kind of kicking off a little bit earlier in the season than they usually would. And we're getting into growth, which is great. So business is going to start up apace, and that's a really good thing because we're already in a good financial position and we just get to build on that. I'm hearing good things. We've had good reports about outings, and we can hope for some really full tee sheets, which I think they've been very full, even at the lower rates, and moving to the regular rates very soon. We will really start to see that revenue pouring in. So firing on all cylinders. There's a bunch of things going on. I know there's some proposals that we'll talk about today, and we'll also get some really great updates on restaurant contract and on. I think we should talk a little bit about GM search and the overall GM position. So those are things that are warming up along with the weather, and we're gonna knock them out as they come along. So I'll just leave my report there, and we can go into item number 5, which is management reports, and start with Paul.
Okay, good to see everyone. Well, it's been a mild winter and our golf course is in really good shape. And as usual, when we have nice weather days here at Oak Hills, we're seeing lots of golfers. But whenever it's cold, windy, or rain in the forecast, we are seeing limited tee sheets, especially Monday through Thursday. Last Sunday, just a few days ago, it's a beautiful day. We had 198 out of a possible 200 tee times booked. So the golf course opened the greens and the tee boxes on March 10th. Carts have been available, but restricted to the cart path. We've been charging off-peak rates and twilight rates. Well, we'll be going to peak rates this Friday. The golf shop hours are now 8:30 to 5 p.m. And the golf course opens every day at 9 o'clock. We've priced lots of new merchandise. It's already in the golf shop. And all the 2023 golf schedules are complete. We have 15 outings scheduled as of now. And this year, we are adding Tunnel to Towers and the Old Place, and Retain to Walk has been here in the past. They were not here last year, and they're coming back this year. We've almost sold 50 annual passes this year. I think it's a good number. The Oak Hill Men's Golf Association and the Women's Golf Association, myself and other staff members have been training on our new Golf Genius Premier tournament software package, and we're all very impressed with it. It's better than I even anticipated. We had the Oak Hill Men's Golf Association open house last night, and we really did a lot on Golf Genius there, so it's very exciting. We also had the Oak Hill Women's Golf Association open house tonight, and that's why I'm wearing a sport check. And we had the ladies 9-hole last week, so things are really moving along, and we're trying to get a lot of new members here to play in our associations. We've been posting Oak Hill Park Golf Course photos and photos of our players on Facebook and Instagram. We haven't done that in a couple of years. We were locked out, and I'm getting lots of good feedback from that. I'm also getting some pretty good young people who are interested in working here at Oak Hills through Facebook. Half our golf shop lights are being prepared. They've been out for a couple of years. Our phone systems have also been updated and had a nice checkup recently. Our old golf shop, the First Tee, has been refurbished, painted, and is looking really good. You guys should go take a look at it. Our 68 golf carts are all running very well, and we're really definitely getting a lot of compliments on the golf course recently.
Yeah.
All right. Our junior golf tee event will be coming to Oak Hills this year. I don't think we've had the First Tee here before. We do a lot with junior golf, but we're happy to have the First Tee of Connecticut come. We also have a new Connecticut State Golf Association qualifier coming for, I think, might be for the state amateur. And then the Southern New England Women's Golf Association is also returning for their annual event. And we presently have, which has changed drastically in the last 2 weeks, an inside golf shop staff of 7, an outside golf shop staff of 19 on our schedule. We've recently hired 3 golf team members from Bryan High School.
Hey,
And,
Paul, let me just break in for a second
Sure.
here. TJ, we're getting some noise on your line. If you don't mind, it's background noise. If you don't mind going on mute, that would help. Or Jeff, if you can do that, if you can mute TJ, that would help. All right, I see. It's muted now.
Should we go back at all, or should I just?
No. I think it was
Okay.
audible. I just didn't want it to keep.
All right. So yeah, we have a new CSG qualifier, which is great. And SNWGA is coming. We definitely added a lot of people on the golf staff recently, and I'm really happy. We have 3 Brian McMahon team members, which is a tradition here at Oak Hills now, and also another great new golf shop staff members, a little older. And I'm sure someone will talk about this, but I just found out we will be having breakfast at Oak Hills this Saturday and Sunday. It's gonna make a lot of people happy. And we also had, I think might be one of the first times ever here at Oak Hills for today, our ladies, we had a trunk show. So we had a Puma rep come in, show lots of good stuff, and had a great time with our ladies here today. And that's really about it, unless anyone has any questions.
Hey, Paul, what does it mean that we have the first tee? What does that involve?
Well, the first tee is an opportunity for young kids who really don't have an opportunity to play golf. And a lot of them are lower income. And we just try to introduce them to the game of the golf because some of them parents aren't going to do it. They might not even have any financial money to do that. And, you know, here at Oak Hills, we're so busy with junior golf, but I'm more than happy to do that. And I think it would be really great. And it's a big thing all around the United States, put on by the PGA of America.
So how many days a week will that be during the summer?
Well, no, it'd probably be, you know, they go to a lot of different clubs. So at the moment, we might just have one day. And if it goes well, we'll have more. And some of it might be on the range. We do a little demonstration. We explain golf. And they're interested in doing it in a classroom setting, which we might hold in our old golf shop now that it's kind of refurbished somewhat. But yeah, anything we can do, you know, PGA professionals, we love to grow the game.
Oh, I looked at the website, that Facebook site, where it looks nice. Who posts that stuff? I mean, is there someone in charge of it?
No, I come from a family of photographers. My dad's a professional and I love photos. And
So you post it, it's nice. It's nice stuff. And just how many people attend the men and women or groups when they come out this week?
Oak Hills Men's Association probably had 40 or more. The 9-hole ladies probably had 35 or slightly more. And tonight with the ladies 18-hole, we probably had 30.
I actually attended the meeting last night of the Men's Association and just kind of introduced myself and made a little speech just for like 2 or 3 minutes, just to introduce myself as an authority member to the people, and hung around afterwards and in case anyone asked any questions. And it was good just to be there and network a bit with some of the people. And I guess I got to join the association now, I think. But I was there last night. It was very good.
And I think anytime some of our golfers get to meet some of the people on the authority, that's really a great thing.
Yeah, I would have come by. I apologize. I'm not at my house this week, so I wasn't in town. So, but I'll try to make the next time.
Paul, one question. You say almost 50 have been sold. I think last time that was 44, but I also thought that we stopped sales. So have more been sold, or is it still the 44?
I think it's close to 40. I have to take a look, but I know it's not more than 50.
Yeah. I know we limited it to 50, but I just wanted to.
Which is a good thing because it's going to give some people an opportunity to play golf earlier than like they used to years ago.
I think if it's 44 or 49 or close to 50, it's an indication that we got right from a price and a limit perspective. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, things are good though. I think we're going to have a great season.
Looking forward to it. Any other questions for Paul? All right. If none, we can move on to Jim's report.
Thank you.
Jim, it looks like you're on mute.
As we were saying before, everything is looking pretty good with the course. We came out of the winter unscathed, and I don't think that we're in any more danger for winter injury. We've been real busy cleaning up the course, and the seasonal staff has pretty much returned to work last Monday. So we've got a lot done so far. We've aerated the greens. We've aerated fairways. We finished that yesterday. We're going to finish tees tomorrow. And, I'm seeking more employees as usual to round out the staff. But, as usual, we've had very little in the way of good candidates apply. And when we do get a lead and we set an appointment for an interview, they don't show up. And I mean, it's just it's kind of a, no, I don't think people want to do this work much anymore, so. Around the course, the rental house exterior is pretty much done. From everybody I've talked to, they say it looks great. I think that there is a little bit of caulking that needs to be done, and around the back of the house where we found all that rotted wood, we need to change the grade, and I've pretty much done that. I just need to finish grade it of the ground because the soil was diverting water into the wooden frame. So on the interior, we still need new carpet. I think that the installer is going to come by later this week. Thank you, Paul. Brian's a great guy.
Good.
He's been a big help. So there's 2 rooms in there to put carpet down, and we need to patch up the garage. Some of the electrical work is done. The bird's nest, the wires is pretty much cleaned up, and it's starting to look good. We've completed our writing of the JSAs, or job safety analyses, for our OSHA requirements. That was a big project, and we do have approval from the insurance company that's working with the city on the format, and we think we've covered everything, but we also think it's going to be a living document because there's, new jobs that we'll do that we forgot that we do every year. So we may add a job here, add a job there. There's very little left to do for OSHA compliance.
Mhm.
We do have to start a safety committee, and it's got to consist of 2 management and 2 or 3 employees. So Paul's agreed to be in since he manages so many people down on that end of the course. I've agreed to be on it. My mechanic is going to be on it since he manages all of our equipment. I mean, let's face it, like, some of the biggest dangers are with our equipment.
Yeah.
And also the guy that's been helping us out with fixing buildings up around the place, Bill Stanger, he's also a ranger. He's agreed to be on it, and he was actually on one at King Industries. He was the fireman there, and so I think he's a good addition to it. I'm looking for a 3rd employee. Not so sure who to approach for that, but we have a little time to think about it. We'll try to get our first meeting going next week. So the halfway house bathrooms are complete and open. No leaks. Very proud of myself. I connected all the lines and put this stuff in. Not a leak. So, but they look good and they're cleaner. And the cleaning guy, he put his finishing touches on it the other day. So we opened it up, stocked it up with paper. Hopefully people notice a difference. Let's see, off the 8th hole, we've had a neighbor express a little anger. He left me a long message about golfers looking for balls in his yard. And clearly the golfers are dismantling it's what looks like a split rail fence, but it's just a similar fence. They dismantle it and cross the fence and go in their yards and try to retrieve their golf balls. And he's really more mad at them. He was just venting to me. So I agreed on Monday. I spoke to him and we agreed that I'm getting a few signs to put up along that fence that it's no trespassing, it's out of bounds, and they should be dropping a ball.
Mhm.
Let's see. What else? I think that pretty much covers it, unless anybody has questions.
Yeah, hey, Jim, you might say, yeah, and it's only $2, so let it go.
Maybe the
Just
ball,
curious.
maybe the ball you play with. Pro V's, I think, are $6 now.
Jim, I'm just curious when the carpet's going to be in that rental apartment. How long until the carpet's finished?
Well, the installer, he said he's going to try to get here by the end of the week, and they're not that busy. So I would imagine it would be within a couple weeks, it'll be done.
Thanks.
Hey, Jim, how often do you have to do the report for OSHA?
Yeah.
I have to keep it updated as we go. The safety committee meeting is quarterly. And that's not really an OSHA. I guess it kind of is an OSHA requirement, but the insurance company that we've got now is really thorough with everything. You know, they're obviously trying to minimize their risk loss, so to speak. I don't know what you call it, but they're pretty aggressive about it, and you know, it's only going to make us better. So.
Thank you.
And do they have like suggestions on how those meetings should go and what should be discussed and those sorts of things?
There is a rep from the company that's going to join us on the first meeting and tell us about the format and stuff like that, how it's supposed to go.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
And I know I saw a note from Mark saying that there was something for me to sign regarding the OSHA compliance. So I'll get in for that eventually.
Yeah, that's a 300A accident report for last year. It's just stating that we actually didn't have any accidents.
Oh, okay.
And back to the safety committee, I just had a question. Is that part of the OSHA thing or is that separate?
I think that OSHA does require it, but they didn't mention it to me when they visited, and the insurance company pointed it out, and they're actually asking us to do a lot of extra stuff that OSHA doesn't require. So I mean, it's fine. It's nothing major, but we're almost through it, and boy, it was not fun. You can imagine.
Okay. Anything else for Jim? All right. Mark wasn't able to join tonight on the reschedule. I'll just hit the really high points of the financial report, which is the budget season is going to start heating up. And I think the schedule that we'd like to do is kind of get it meaningfully done in April. You know, kind of have folks take a draft look at it into the May meeting and be able to kind of opine on it, see if there's any changes thematically that we want to make, and then be able to vote on it in June for delivery to the city by July 1st. And, you know, to have in place for the beginning of the fiscal year on July 1st. That's probably more important than delivery to the city. So, you know, that'll start. And, you know, Denise, I know you'll be engaged, and Rich, you'll be engaged on tennis and those sorts of things. And Jim and Paul on staffing and wages and all that stuff. So just FYI, that's going to be starting. Otherwise, finances are in really good shape. You know, we ended October ahead of budget on net income, and that's continued. Hasn't really accelerated much, but it's continued, hasn't fallen. So that's a good sign. And we have 400 plus in the bank, unrestricted cash, and we have a reserve that we're starting to build up. And that's after kind of spend on improvements, capital expenditures, and those sorts of things. So kind of finances are all pointing in the right direction, continuing to be very strong. I said the only weaknesses that are kind of emerging are on ID cards, which were kind of lagging through the end of February. I know it does look like they've picked up a little bit, and I think the trend is generally that when people play their first round, they kind of come in and renew their ID cards. So we should see it start to pick up more as April proceeds. So not too worried about it, because we know that the T-sheet, as Paul mentioned, is very strong and has been and is expected to be. So you know, not too worried about it, but something that we're watching.
Okay.
Any questions for Mark? You can kind of get them to him separately, because I'm not sure I'm going to have the answers for it.
Just one question. Is the anticipated general manager's position budget in the new budget? Will it be in there?
Yeah. Well, I think so. I have every expectation that it would.
Okay.
I think we'll close the management reports with that, and we can launch into the committee reports. And I know that there were kind of two orders of business, not to vote on, but for discussion, that maybe three that were that don't seem to have made it onto agenda 7. So we can treat appropriately when we get there. They're really discussion, not votes. So I don't think we have to be too officious about getting them on the agenda. But Alan, I think you'll talk about the restaurant contract and the restaurant committee update coming up. And then in old business, new business, I think just so it's present in everybody's mind, I think we want to talk a little bit about the old business of the GM, the posting and how that's proceeding and what might be next with that. And in terms of new business, Paul, I know you had some materials and some information about usage of the rental house and hiring an assistant pro. So we want to talk about both those things for a couple of minutes when we get to item number 7. But first, let's go into 6A, which is the tennis committee. And Denise, you can take us through all of that information.
Hey, hi, everybody. Let's see. So the courts are scheduled to open on May 8th, and that will be with Kings Highway. And so Paul is going to post that on the website for me, which is great. So it's a tentative opening. Obviously, the rain would cause the delays, or if the courts aren't prepared on time. But anyway, they're scheduled to open on May 8th. And we're moving forward with the new fencing. Mark was kind enough to send through the deposit. So the materials have been ordered and they're being shipped supposedly this coming Monday, April 3rd. And they're supposed to possibly start the same day, but they figure it'll take about, weather permitting, it'll take about 2 weeks to pull off the old fencing, sand and paint the poles that are existing, and then put up the new fencing and put in 2 new gates. And we're moving an old gate from those courts to court 1, because the purpose of that is to keep that machine that cleans the courts in the mornings, because it goes from the deuce courts to the big battery of 6 courts. It'll be kept in the back. And so it'll just run back and forth between the 2 gates to the court. So it won't be in the front, which is visible and very unappealing to look at. Plus it won't be on the stone patio, because I'm kind of concerned that, Tom had said that the patio would be fine and the stones could support the weight, but, every day back and forth, I just don't think that's good. So that's one of the things that we're hopefully going to take care of for the machine. And let's see, we have a volunteer from the Friends of Tennis. His name is Chris Halsey, and he's come on board to help us with the USTA and getting some grants. So one of the grants he's looking to have or apply to first, which is, I think, a grant that the deadline is in 2 weeks, is for facility improvements. I'm not quite sure. I think it's going to cover more fencing, but I'm not exactly sure, because, we're hoping down the road we would repair the large courts too with new fencing. So he's going to look into different grants. He's also going to have somebody from the USTA come and survey the property, kind of give us some pointers on good things we can do to improve. He's going to give us like a list of vendors that we can work with if we choose to, and just give us some good working information on, possible suggestions to do with the courts. Besides, we have our own ideas, but it would be nice to hear what the USTA has in store too, or what they would suggest. They're such a huge organization. And so that is just something that is in the works. And we did get more information about our pergola. I can't pronounce that correctly. So we have a group of people who are interested in sponsoring a pergola to have shade over the patio. So at the moment, they sent us a 3D diagram of what they project it would look like. And so we haven't had a chance to really talk about it yet with the Friends of Tennis, because that's where it's going to at the moment. So that will be something we'll definitely talk about for the next meeting, but they have at least come through with some plans that we can possibly consider and look at and see if it's the right thing for us to do. You know, which would involve, they would be hiring and having the construction done, from what I understand, but, you know, we would have to apply for a building permit because it is a stationary building or structure. So, but it, you know, it's something interesting to think about. Plus, it would be something that they would be financially taking care of, so. That's all I have for the moment. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
I just want to comment, it was nice. I got an email today from Kings Highway with at least promoting some of their options at the, announcing that the course is going to, the courts will be open on the 8th of May and offering what they have, some clinics and stuff, what they're offering. So I was glad to see that at least a little more proactive. At least I didn't get it in past years. And this year, it was nice to notify people that they are, you know, what they're doing. And I was really grateful to Chris Hulse. He has been, the last 3 weeks, he's really worked hard at the USDA grant. And yeah, we'll see if we can get something out of that. It's exciting.
Mhm. Okay. And then-
Denise, I just wanted to mention, I just followed up with reps from the city about
Thank you.
and getting that through committees and all of that stuff. So, you know, TBD, but yeah, I haven't heard anything negative about it yet. So that I'm going to take that as a better sign, I guess.
Oh, thanks
Okay.
for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Natalie Tallinger, FaceTime video.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay, so you can move on to your next report.
Thanks. Sorry, I thought I was off mute, but I wasn't. Alan, you can take it away with the restaurant, and I also see that Don is on. So hey, Don. So let's talk about.
Hey, Joe, is Randy on board at the moment as well or not? If not,
I
I'll
don't
just...
see Randy on. No.
Oh, he's not. Okay.
Hey guys, I'm here. Sorry.
Hey, Don. So Randy and myself and Don met today and basically we were in full agreement with the terms of the draft agreement at 3.9 with 2 or 3 changes or proposed changes. The first one is paragraph 6, the security deposit to keep the original amount of $4,000 that Don spoke with Joe about, to keep that number of $4,000. But if Don misses any payments, that figure will rise to $8,000. $8,000 if Don miss any payments during
Just to reframe all of these conversations that we have. We're going into a contract with Dry Dock Smoking Aces LLC, DDSA, not with Don.
My apologies, DDSA.
Yeah.
So basically, $4,000, and if DDSA misses, or doesn't go to those terms, then it will rise to $8,000. And there's some verbiage that Randy's put together about that. Second, on the hours of operation, everything is pretty good apart from the month of April. And that, we're going to be open from Tuesday through Sunday. And, what DDSA and we were speaking about is that the main kitchen service will be open from 11 to 5 on Tuesday through Thursday, but from 5 o'clock till say 7 or 8 or 9, it'll be like a bit of a reduced menu during that period of time, when it's in the evenings and maybe not as busy in the months of April, giving Don the ability to, reduce some staff where necessary. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no change to our original document. There is an area that we put in here, add a new clause to 9D, providing or following electronic request to DDSA and approval of OHPA vets on a case-by-case basis. What that means is that Don, will have the ability to look at the T sheet and say, okay, the course is going to be closed basically during this time period. If it's a really bad time, it's going to be closed, fine. The restaurant won't be open. Or if the T sheet is really bad, there's only very few people on it, etc., he will call either a member of the authority, probably me, or someone who's designated, hopefully general manager, let them know this is what the situation is, and we will agree to it. And then we will send the communication out that the restaurant will be closed during this time, giving Don, DDSA the ability to at least communicate and saying it doesn't make sense to open during this time because of bad weather, because the T sheets is really, really slow, etc., etc., etc. And there's some language that's, this additional language to allow for DDCA to expect to be able to close when there is, for whatever reason, insufficient usage to avoid service losses. This would allow DDSA to seek closure for whatever periods are provided for, and would require OHPA to create both a prompt response mechanism and to work with DDSA to come up with a method of advising the public of such closures in real time. So we thought this was a compromise whereby if there is an issue where it is bad weather or something's come up, we can let us know. We'll say, yes, go, and let the membership know about it. And those were really the only changes that we looked at.
I think it makes a ton of sense. And I know a bunch of folks have been putting a lot of time and attention into getting it to here. And we're a little bit down to the wire with a new kind of more straightforward rental agreement contract slated to hopefully begin April 1st. On that last point, Alan, that you were mentioning about being closed, I think it makes a ton of sense. If there's a hurricane, if there's a freak snowstorm or ice storm in April, hopefully not, but something like that, it doesn't make any sense for the contract to require the restaurant to be open if it's literally dangerous to get out there. So I think it makes a ton of sense, and it just requires a little bit of communication between Paul and Don to share the T sheet and make sure that that's happening. And then for us to get together and say, yeah, does this make sense? And get that communication out to in a blast email. So I love it. I'm ready to go once the edits are made, and we can put some ink on it.
If we're going to be closed, are we also going to put a sign on the front and back doors of the restaurant at least?
Yeah, we'll have a little more.
Don, go ahead.
Sorry, guys. One of the issues we had last year is just really burned through a lot of labor being fully. And as you guys know, if there's not a lot of traffic at the golf course, a restaurant, hard time getting people in there. And so we cut down staffing this year early on in the season, and we added easier options too, like pizza by the slice and a bigger pizza, and we're gonna do better specials. It was one of the things that we were getting a lot of complaints on regarding options on the drafts, which is fine. I think we more higher end on some of the stuff, and I think that was a mistake on our part. So.
Yeah. Don, just so you know, you may not be able to hear it, but your audio is cutting out every once in a while. But I think the gist of what you're saying is there were some staffing issues. You think you're getting that right now, and there was some menu.
My house is the worst internet ever. So
you live out of the country. Is that better? It's too soon to tell. But the other point was on menu items. You tinkered with that a little bit, and when we kind of start the season, it's going to be a little bit different, but a little bit more rationalized, right? That was the gist.
Yeah, we cut the menu down. We're going to send out a communication together and kind of just do like a welcome back letter so we can do a blast. I put out pizza and wings. I think that one.
Yeah. It's going quiet for even longer. I think it got worse, Don. Sorry.
Let's try this. Is that better?
We heard that. We
Okay.
heard, is it better?
Good. So,
Gotta go outside.
the halfway house weekend, but next weekend, just so we want to get that up and make sure that everything's going in the freezer and stuff that we got to get out of there. So, and then we should be okay to go. And then this weekend, we're going to try breakfast starting at 6 a.m. So breakfast to go, see how that goes, and just kind of, if it's going well, then we'll continue add a day or so in there, Saturday and Sunday. Maybe we do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if it's doing well, we'll give it a shot. I'm going to try to just be in real constant communication with Alan and just.
Sure. And, we appreciate Don because the agreement calls for starting it in May. But I think Don's going to give it a shot in April, just to see what goes on. And also we're going to look at, he's going to put some hot stuff on there, some bacon, egg and cheeses and stuff like that. And then also, have the ability to have some muffins and coffee and stuff like this. And I think, if you're successful on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe we'll expand it during the week just to see how it goes, to see what we can do. But we appreciate bringing it forward a month to see how it works, Don.
Yeah, like I said, we're here to try to make things that we're catering to people what they want, as long as it's fun. And, being things in line with the budget that we kind of set this year, I think we should be okay.
Great.
As a golfer, how am I going to know what's available for breakfast or that breakfast is there, or how are you going to notify us?
Notify you.
I mean, are you going to have something at the on your doors, something at the sign up desk? How would a golfer know that breakfast is available?
Well, I think I'm gonna have a guy out there with like a handheld. We're real limited. It's not gonna be like a sit down breakfast option. Like this will be egg and cheese, ham, egg and cheese, sausage, egg and cheese with, we'll have some fruit, some muffins. It won't be like bagels and all this stuff because that's.
So Gary, I don't want to speak to Don, but we did have a conversation earlier on today, and there are options. There's basically you open the door to the restaurant and people can see in, and it could be set up a bar there, and you could have a sign saying open for breakfast as you come in to book your tea time. There's also an option to put something in the actual room itself where where you actually make it, go and pay. The possibility of putting a table in there, etc. These are things we need to work through. But definitely remember, golfers are going to see it when they're open. The door's going to be open. People can see it with a sign, I would imagine. Or there may be something also possibly people with a handheld in the actual office itself. But golfers are definitely going to see that, I think. Right, Don?
We'll have coffee and stuff, but reasonable expectations. This isn't going to be like I'm coming in, I'm getting a 50-cent coffee. I'm getting
no.
Like this isn't this isn't going to be like a soup kitchen. Understand that we're going to do some nice specials. I think the plan is to do a breakfast sandwich and a cup of coffee for like $9.50, which I think is more than reasonable for sandwiches. And you're getting 2 eggs, 2 pieces of cheese, and bacon or sausage. So I think that and then they have the option of just having coffee, or if they want a muffin or that kind of stuff. And then as we get a little later in the season, when we got more traffic, we'll add stuff like that. We'll just kind of keep adding as the season gets a little busier. Supposed to be kind of iffy. Sunday's supposed to be. But like I said, having two people in there, it's gonna cost breakfast, it's gonna be, around $40 an hour.
We may.
Which means I
don't
gotta sell
know.
at least
John-
5 breakfast sandwiches, and that's where we gotta,
Yeah.
but it'll be based on financials, and it's not being supported, we just can't continue it. That we're gonna give it a go, but, if it just, I can't do it, it's not financially viable.
No, we understand. I think April may be a tough month for you, but I think once
Yeah.
May starts around, I think that's when you really, we can
Yeah.
start rocking
I
and
think
rolling.
we just need to come up with the right operations for it, but I don't want to get too operational in this. We need to come up with, make sure that people are very aware of it and, inject some excitement about it.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of a new change that people have been asking for. So
Yep.
hopefully people do get excited about it. And then, hopefully the word of mouth starts setting in as we go into April and people start playing more. People will get to understand that there's a reliable breakfast product there available for them, so they don't have to stop off beforehand or eat beforehand at 5:30. They can grab something and go get out on the tee box and move along. So I love it. Thank you for experimenting in April. Hopefully that makes May really successful when the traffic is really heating up.
Yeah, Richie is, who's our head chef and oversees all 3 restaurants, loves doing breakfast. Once we get a little more busier into the season, we'll expand the menu and do a full sit down.
Great.
And hopefully we'll start to attract some of the outside crowd, and we'll do a lot of advertising golfer business. And then we can do like a bigger breakfast kind of thing, which will open up more options.
Yeah.
Some of the hit or miss evening kind of dinner. So
Okay.
like I said, we're just going to really manage it tight the first couple of months, and hopefully
Sure.
tightening up the labor helps be in a better financial position.
That's the goal for both parties. Between the audio issues and the kind of deep operational nature of the conversation, I'm going to ask if we can kind of, Alan, if there's anything else that you want to
Nope.
add.
That was it.
Otherwise, we can kind of continue questions, although I'll ask them to keep them kind of more oversight policy level and not operational. If there are operational questions, anybody's free to pop down an email, of course. If not, we can get moving with the rest of the agenda.
I just have a question about the communication. I see this is key, and I'm wondering who's going to update the website on the thing about the restaurant offerings and hours and menu, and who does that? Is that part of the contract that Don has, or is it someone else at Oak Hills?
I've been doing it.
Well, I appreciate it, Don. Paul.
No,
I mean,
I've been doing it,
is
and
it-
I'm more
I have to go and
willing.
look on the website. Are we Kill's website or the actual Dry Dock Smoking Aces website?
I think we should be really concerned with our Oak Hills website because we have 10,000 people who see that.
Right.
And
so
I was hoping,
it's-
I don't know, Paul, not but a lot. I mean, just even a link sometimes to say the restaurant's open, here's a link. If we could try to get a link in your email sometimes, just to go to that website for people, I would be appreciated, because I think the communication is critical to make it successful.
I think tomorrow I'd be more than happy, but even Noel in there, he gave me some good information about this weekend, but if we draft something up, I'll send it out tomorrow morning. And I've been here 12 years. I think people are going to be really happy, and they're going to support the breakfast, and it's going to make them come in for lunch, and it's going to make people happy. And I think in the fall, when we have delays, you're going to be packed in the mornings. Guys are going to sit there, drink coffee, and just sit around waiting for us to lift the frost delays. So I think it's going to be a great
Good
thing.
point. That's a good point, Paul. Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
It's going to go well.
You sure you don't want to open tomorrow? There's going to be a long delay tomorrow.
Paul, I gotta send you the new menu, which is. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Don, I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut this off because the audio is really not coming through. We're getting a couple of words and then 8 seconds of silence. So if you can coordinate with Paul on the things you need to coordinate, that would be great.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna move us on to the next item, which would I don't see Jerry for supporters of Oak Hills Park. And I don't think anyone's on from the Nature Advisory Committee either. So I think we can round out those agenda items and move into item 7, which is the old business, new business. There's nothing on the agenda. We do have a couple of items for discussion. First of which, I think, Rich, you expressed interest in talking about the GM position. And as I spoke about it with Alan, he had some items to talk about too. So I think it makes sense if we just start, Alan talking about kind of where we are and, what we might move to next.
So we did revise the job description, obviously the expectation of an increase in salary from what originally was 50 up to 75, a little higher. And then what I did do is go out to the heads of the Club Managers Association Metropolitan chapter, which is Westchester, and the Connecticut chapter and the New York City chapter of Club Managers, and posted this particular job description and offerings to them. Got a couple of bites, but nothing that anybody was really interested in. So that well has pretty much run dry. So we really do need to expand our outlook now to see where we can go to find good candidates for this position. I think we need to, I'll be happy to get input from members of the authority. I think we need to look at Indeed, possibly ZipRecruiter, possibly any other targeted newspapers or any other hospitality areas that we can look at. I think it's time to do that because nothing is coming from the actual club managers themselves and through networking, through people that we know. So I'll be interested to see any input we can have from any of our other authority members about this position.
Alan, this is not my area or anything, but like culinary schools and hotel schools and anything, is there PGA schools? Is there anything that's out there for club manager schools or something that we could approach?
There's universities that have, hospitality programs, but I don't know if this is a young person's position, because it is not the downside to the position at this moment in time, that it is not a full-time position. There are no benefits with it. It is more of a seasonal type position. The dollars are quite good, or relatively good, especially for a starter position. But you also have to understand that you are going to be in charge of some pretty seasoned professionals here that we have working for us, and it's got to be a certain type of person which is able to do that. So I don't think recent graduates from programs like that would probably be appropriate, to be honest with you, Gary. But I think if we go out to Indeed, we go out to ZipRecruiter. I don't know if it's worth putting anything in newspapers. I don't know what other avenues are there. I wonder. Any not-for-profits, people work for not-for-profits may be an option as well. But
tough market there.
Yeah, yes and no. It's a nice position for the right.
Are there recruiters for that kind of thing?
There are recruiters, but it's going to cost you like about 10%, maybe.
Yeah,
it might be worth it. I mean,
it might. I think we've been kind of doing an escalation approach. I think Alan tried the quote unquote free approach of networking through Club Managers Associations.
Yeah,
the next step.
That's okay. That's not free. That's done. But I also approached a couple of headhunters and I said, what I did business with over the years. I said, listen, I've given you about $500,000 worth of business. Do me a favor, find me someone. But of course, they didn't, because I'm not paying them anything. But I can negotiate with them and come and say, listen, I've got $5,000 here or $4,000. Go and find me someone.
Mhm.
So that's an option for us as we go further down the road.
And I think that's a next level. I think it does cost a little bit of money to post on Indeed or ZipRecruiter or any of those services.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's where we are now. It's kind of the low cost approach. And then if that's not bearing fruit, we'll kind of say, okay, that didn't work, and escalate to the recruiter approach.
Okay, let's do that. I'll do that. I'll do a ZipRecruiter Indeed ad, send it out, see what the, and then, but I would like to kind of add on a couple of people to not just me type situation. I think if there's another couple of committee members that would like to kind of join me, like, well, I'll pass it around to everybody, obviously, but I'll do that once I get the resumes in. I'll vet them and we'll pass them around so people can look
Yeah,
at them.
of course. Oh yeah. Count me in. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
And
be
if that's
glad
not
to help you, Alan.
okay, and if that's not working, then we'll come up with, see, what the package is. I mean, we can carve out some of the package and put that towards, a dollar amount to a search person.
Mhm.
So, okay.
Okay.
But I think it's an important thing because I think it will help us a lot if we have someone who's the go-to person for the, for the club.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just curious, are you going to post the salary when you go to Indeed or wherever? Are you going to post it? Because I didn't see it in the original job description.
I mean, I think you kind of have to a certain degree, put a range in there because, otherwise you can have people expect expectations of whatever. And I'll take a look and see what the other ads say, but most of them do have a range in there, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a range would make sense to me. And I don't mind helping too with Denise if you need it. I'll be happy to help.
Okay.
It is becoming more and more common to post the salary range, just so it works in both directions, so that people have the right expectation, and so that we kind of know who's coming already kind of has a sense that they want to be in that range. So I think it works effectively. I would be a proponent of including it.
Okay.
Not would be. I am a proponent of including.
Okay.
Any other questions on that matter?
No, I would like to keep it regular updates, though. I kind of was, in the dark about the history of this thing. Alan brought me up to stuff, and I appreciate it. And I just monthly, I'd love to keep kind of a pulse on it as we go forward.
Very good.
I think if it's going to be the four of us, it can be more often than that. We can jump on a call or just keep in touch via email.
Sure.
Alan, as you get things, we can
I'll
review.
shoot.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to Paul's order of new business.
All right, well, I've been here 12 years and this is a busy place. Every year I try to get things done with a college kid. High school kids have been really helpful, but similar to what Alan's thinking there, we need some more professionalism here at Oak Hills. And so for numerous reasons, I think it'd really be in the benefit. I think we can get somebody that really wouldn't cost us a lot. And also I'm definitely can supplement that income with, because we are getting busy, someone to help teach a little more golf here. And obviously, golf professionals, that's where we make, some of us make the bulk of our income or a lot of it. But I do have someone pretty good. I signed with Oak Hills on June 19th of 2020. I put a advertisement out in the Met PGA right away. And I probably had 6 people interested who were not qualified whatsoever. And this is really the first person who's been qualified somewhat. So I think we just you guys have all run businesses. Jim knows, I know Jim's on board, and Rich, if he was a principal, he had an assistant principal, and I'm sure Gary did in his world. And it's just a very important person to have for just numerous reasons. And I've given you guys some reasons, and you can ask me any questions you want. It's just not uncommon at all in the golf business. And there's very few clubs. Obviously, the private clubs have multiple assistants. Over at, I was at a Callaway seminar yesterday. Woodway's got 6. Country Club Darien probably got 6. maybe there was only one public golf course. Might have been Reading. He didn't, he's a one-man show over there. So, I've been kind of getting it done, and luckily I've had some good young guys, but like a college coach, I lose seniors every year and I got to replace them with freshmen. And I just think it's important to have someone very professional and knowledgeable if I'm just not available. And obviously, just so you know, I would never have a chance of getting anyone here unless they're from the area, they live with their mother, father, or close in this area. But it's really all about housing, and doesn't matter if it's private club or public. They help out with housing because we all know how expensive it is here. So I do have someone very interested, and it's about the housing for him, and I think I can, I think I can help him out financially, and he's somebody who can also work part-time or even full-time in the winter somewhere else to help supplement his income. But if anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer anything.
So Paul, what did you do last year? Did you have someone helping you last year? Another pro or assistant pro or something? It wasn't just you, right?
As far as I know, at Oak Hills Park, Ed Ruiz was here, my good friend. I came up, took this job. He said, no salary, no nothing. I don't know how you can build your teaching program, which I did. So the last couple of years, I relied on college kids, and we had Bennett Dial. I think a lot of you know him. He was exceptional. He did a great job. He was new to golf. I taught him a lot. He loved golf, played here a lot. He went from a 26 handicap to about a 7. And obviously, smart kid from New Canaan and college graduate, marketing, but he wanted to kind of move away, spread his wings a little bit and get a job where he could make some real money, which he's going to do.
Didn't you have someone helping you or working with you on the pro side as well, though, or not?
Well,
someone else teaching?
I do. I have Mike Rapisarda, who I've known for 25 years. He was head pro for 17 years. And he is a teaching pro. So he kind of took the position I had, no salary, no nothing. And I just I got to make it financially rewarding to him. He kind of works part-time. We share days teaching golf.
Okay.
And obviously my income's also derived on teaching. So I just give him as much as I can.
Okay.
But, we're getting busy here. I mean, I think we have 15 women's clinics and 10 junior clinics, and we do outside stuff at Darien Parks and Rec. We're doing stuff at Winston Prep. We have 9-hole for women, 18-hole clinics for women. And, so there's a lot going on here. But Mike, you know how it is. He's happy what he's doing. He had a lot of pressure and stress in the past, and I could ask him to help me with some tournaments and things, but I think he likes what he's doing. And
Paul, how do you look at this position? A lot of times these assistants, you're going to teach them, and do you expect this person to move on? Or do you expect this person to stay here forever?
I could never answer that. I mean, look at Eddie. He left in the middle of the year. Anything can happen. People get great offers. Sometimes you train somebody. My brother won an award for training people, and he's had a lot of people move on because they get really good at what they do and get offers. And I think that's sometimes a good thing if you're the mentor and you can,
right,
guys I worked with, you get them jobs. So you just never know. But this is someone local. Anytime you get someone local, we don't always want to go to Missouri, Arizona, or Florida. We like it here. Family.
Right. So, but what I'm saying is, I don't know the age of this person or anything, but a lot of the clubs and whatever, they have assistant pros and whatever, and a lot of time the head pros expect them to be there for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and then hopefully they move on and move up.
Yeah.
So therefore, in X number of years, you'll need to replace this position. So are you excuse me, mentoring this person to eventually move on out? That's all.
Well, like Bennett Dial, I wanted him maybe to stay for a while, but I'm happy for him moving on in life and making more money and starting his life. And this individual's 38 and he's got a lot of experience, but you know, he could definitely learn a lot for sure too. He's worked in a lot of clubs. I think I did forward the resume to many of you. But you know, you just don't know. But obviously you got to make it appealing financially. And, you know, we have a great staff here. I mean, everyone likes each other, working with each other here. But, you know, it's just, you never know. I mean, there's offers all the time. And, but I would say, you know, this person might, you know, stick around for a while. It's local. And, you know, if it's not this person, because I got to make, you know, everyone wants a package, but I got to make that happen. But if it's not him, which I feel somewhat confident, but, you know, it would have to be someone else.
So Bennett worked in the office pretty much though, right? He wasn't a teaching pro or anything like that. He worked in the office pretty much.
He didn't
right?
really have, no, I mean, he didn't have the skills to teach, but you know,
Right.
we always had him help the junior golfers. And then at one point, you know, he kind of turned into the golf shop manager. I mean, he really helped me out a lot in there, helped me do all the men's club. This year will be a lot easier because we have the Golf Genius program, so that's going to alleviate a lot of the work. But he was sharp and, you know, reminded me of a couple things every once in a while. And it was great. Hey, Paul, you know, forgot this, or we got to do this, or, you know, I tell everybody, the most important thing at Oak Hills is that tee sheet. That's where all the money comes through. That you really got to protect that tee sheet. And a guy like him did that. It was great. And I can't say you know, I'm training people. I got new people. I got high school. So it's not always the case in there, but it's financially very important.
Right. And there's some regular guys coming back in the pro shop as well, all right? You know, the morning guys are there, the regular guys.
Oh, yeah.
coming back,
Uh-huh.
which is good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you made a strong argument for the position. I think it was well presented. My main concern was about the money in terms of, and I wasn't unclear, you know, in terms of what additional costs to the budget would it be? How you saw the additional obligation from the authority.
Well, I would say that obviously we haven't rented that house in years. And there's the revenue. I mean, obviously that was a source of revenue. So that would be part of, you could say, a loss of revenue to Oak Hills if you maybe give him the house, provide him housing. And I kind of came up with just an idea where, you know, if he was working here full time, it's, you know, free. But if he's not, wants to do part time or maybe take 2 months off in the winter, then it was just an idea, you know, to try to appease everybody. And obviously, as far as everyone, I mean, we pretty much pay people here minimum wage. So I'd have to pay him a little more than that. So I don't think, you know, he'd take all of Bennett's hours, maybe another $1 or $2 an hour. And even everyone knows I had another, you know, nice young lady working in here at college. She's very busy, but she went off to another job just because she was getting paid more and I want to get her back. She's like, well, you got to pay me a little more and I'm going to try. But she was great. Everybody loved her. So obviously, you know, it's hard losing people, but it's part of the business sometimes. And then going back to what Gary said, you know, there's head professionals out there. They might come in and say, you know, you got 3 years here and then you're on. And I think they do that because they are mentors, but some guys are worried about maybe someone getting a lot of experience and taking their job, you know, but I've never been worried about that or concerned.
Yeah, I think in the past when we've kind of conceptually talked about the financial case, there's the lost revenue from the rental house if housing was a feature of the compensation. And I did go through your analysis, Paul, that you'd sent over, and I didn't follow up with questions. I thought we would have this conversation, but maybe I should follow up with questions. It wasn't exactly clear what the total cost was, but I think the idea was there's some lost revenue due to not getting the open market rental income, and then there's salary that we would pay, whatever the hourly wage is that we would pay. Now that rental income would be just lost, but the salary and the person who kind of knows the game, knows how this works, would replace potentially one or maybe even more than just one other FTE, a full-time equivalent employee, right? And I wonder if that was totally worked in, or was it just the one role that was going to be replaced by this, or is there potential for additional replacement of headcount?
I would say we do have some people who work in the golf shop who are accomplished and they can handle a busy situation all by themselves. Some people can't, and I don't think it's fair to those people to do that to them. And also we get a lot of phone calls. We get a lot of questions. We got all sorts of membership. We got men's club. So, sometimes it's bodies. So it's hard to get rid of a body because I was in there today, you answer the phone, you do this, someone's helping somebody else. Sometimes it's just impossible for one person to do it. And I would say Bennett, who helped me last year, worked 1,000 hours, minimum wage. I pretty much helped him on the side, numerous ways, but he worked 1,000 hours. So I would say new individual would take those 1,000 hours, possibly a little more, but not necessarily. And then you can figure any dollar over what we paid our last guy would be, if it's 1,000 hours, it's $1,000 more for every hour we're willing to pay, every dollar we're willing to pay.
Is his role to teach though, or what is his role basically?
Well,
coming on as assistant pro, that's where you can make money, right? By
Yeah.
teaching?
Put it this way. Well, if I said, hey, you're going to be in that golf shop for 40 hours, you get the house, he won't take it. So I have to supplement the income by letting him help us with junior golf clinics and things like that.
Yep. No, I understand.
And there are times where I'm busy and Mike's busy, the range is open. And as long as, he's somewhat accomplished, and we kind of teach him how to do that, could even be a girl. It'd be good to have somebody.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think what I heard is it would really replace one person because there's just there's just needs of having people to do some of the tasks, like answer phones, deal with people at the counter, go deal with something outside of the pro shop, right? So it would really just be a replacement of the one person. I think you did that analysis. The arbitrage is pretty even. It's like $2,000 difference or something on the wages, right?
I think you'd see the impact of maybe 1.5 people for sure, but I would know better down the road. Like obviously, I could do many things at once, and so it'd be more, maybe like 1.5, I would say.
But not the expense of 1.5.
No.
You would feel the impact of 1.5
Yes.
in soft ways, right? And quantifying those soft impacts is very, very difficult. I know in a brief that you sent around, there's the first one is, we increase revenue. I don't see the direct line on increased revenue for Oak Hills. I see it in teaching.
I can tell you this already. I've been here a couple of weeks. We would have increased a little bit of revenue these last few weeks having a qualified PGA pro or assistant professional would have helped, I think. How,
not to challenge, but I'm not seeing the direct line between Oak Hills revenue and having an assistant pro.
Let's say, I say, hey, we got to do this. That person isn't going to forget. And, maybe it was the rates. I wanted to change them. Maybe we lost a day there, and certain things just aren't going to fall through the cracks if I get someone pretty good. And, Jim could tell you how important it is to him to have somebody. It's a little different, but, similar. But,
So Paul, you're saying you needed somebody to give lessons and you didn't have anybody, or you didn't have the time?
To be truthful, the lessons, I don't really need someone as much. It's more, having another guy, somebody on property who can just help me with all this things going on. And I'm just going to offer the ability to teach golf so I can help supplement that income. Because without doing that, I don't have a chance of getting anybody.
So where does the house rental come in? I mean, would that be something you're trying to work into the position, or wouldn't it be more beneficial for us to rent that house?
No, well, I'm just saying I can't get anyone without housing, plain and simple. unless they're from this area. And a lot of the people in this area, you know, some areas are not qualified, in other areas, they don't want to do it. I don't know. But the house is key for not only here, but for everywhere. We live in Fairfield, Westchester County, it's very expensive.
Right. No, I don't think that point is being debated by anybody. Certainly not me. And I felt the analysis that you did on the house made sense. You know, I jotted down some questions. You know, with the addition of a GM, I think obviously the job description of a GM and the assistant pro are going to be very different. But, you know, as you talk about bringing professionalism to the role and being able to do helping out around busy times and dealing with things on the course, is there some of that work that would be done by the GM that would lessen the need for the assistant pro?
I don't think so. I mean, we're talking golf here. I would handle most everything I did, and you know, obviously I have someone new coming in, so I got to see what they're capable of. But no, I don't necessarily think so. I think, you know, a GM has other responsibilities. This is going to be mostly in the golf shop area, and then like I said, anything supplementing income will come from outside.
Could you hire a Bennett too? I mean,
Trying. Yeah, I'm definitely trying. I kind of I have somebody came in, he's 61. I think he's going to be great. And he's, you can almost call him a professional in the restaurant service business, but you know, nothing like a golf pro.
Yeah, understood.
But good with customer service, you know. And I've, you know, obviously I think some, you know, most of my staff's high school and college are retired. So I really don't have too many people between 23 and, you know, 65.
Sorry about that.
That's right. And obviously, you know, Jim has, you know, it's not easy for him to hire some people. We live in a different age, and you can see GM might be a little hard. The one thing I think we have good going for us is, you know, we can allow people to play golf here. Most people become a golf pro because you love golf, you want to play. And we do, you know, we have a good staff here, and it's kind of like a little family. And I think that keeps a lot of our staff members here as well.
Yeah.
They really get along well and enjoy each other, which is kind of rare. You know, there's always some fighting going on or things like that between staff, or you always got two factions.
Sounds like a family.
Oh yeah, it's a family. The other thing too, you mentioned salary. I don't think this would be a salary. No, it would not be a salary position.
Oh yeah.
Unless
using the
the guy
wrong
was a rock star, then you might wanna.
Mhm.
So, and that would give everybody a little freedom, you know, and limitations here and there.
Mhm.
Mm.
Okay. I'm going to ask a couple more questions in a minute about just kind of operations and like how do we do this and what kind of timing and everything. But I want to give the chance for anybody else if you have questions for Paul.
Yeah, one of the things I don't see, I assume this position gets benefits.
Eventually, maybe, but I'd say part-time, not necessarily.
Well, he's working 40 hours a week.
No, not necessarily, not to start. Maybe peak season, but not
Right.
at the moment.
I think there's a minimum number of hours per year in the handbook that is required to work to make somebody full-time, which would qualify them for.
Yeah.
So, all right, okay.
And also I would have to let this person, you know, have a part-time job somewhere else in the winter to help supplement the income.
Mhm.
So not necessarily interested in full-time, but obviously May, June, July, August, September, or it's a 40-hour work week. It's full time. And when I say 40, that's going to be a lot of the golf shop, and then there'll be 20 hours outside on the grass with giving people lessons and supplementing income there.
So when he's giving lessons, is he considered an independent contractor then?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you can switch between an independent contractor and an hourly employee. That's very hard to do and to justify. You're normally one or the other, I think. I'm not sure how that works, hours and wages wise. But
I could look into that.
Yeah, I think we need to, because if you start talking about 60 hours a week, I don't know what the handbook says, but
yeah,
it
you
seems
just
to
can't
me,
change. You can't change classifications in a week.
Right.
I don't think.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
Well, I would say in the golf business, from my experience, it's not uncommon at all for the pro to be required to work a certain amount of time in a golf shop, and then whatever they want to do on the other time is up to them. I mean, some people knock it out of the park teaching golf, and other ones don't.
But the pros get a salary. They're not hourly employees. I don't think. Paul, right?
I got checks in the past for all lessons.
Oh yeah, that's different. That's
Yeah, not part of, yeah.
is
At
there
the end of the month.
is there a human resource person that we use
Sure.
in the walk here?
I call PJ of America, and obviously every state could be different laws.
I suggest
that.
you just check that and make sure you don't run into the benefit issue.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I know Mark
my
is
concern is
well
like
versed
Mark Gardner. I mean, I'd like to see how this fits from Mark's point of view. I don't know if you've talked to him about it at all in terms of running by and what he sees. I'd feel a little more comfortable if Mark would say, wow, yeah, I think this will work in terms of the budget. I go back to the budget thing, not the need issue. I'm just curious about the budget numbers for us.
I think we could do that. I just don't think it's going to be a huge increase for 2023 for Oak Hills as far as hourly pay. Again, some of the money is going to be coming from hopefully teaching golf.
Does Mark have this in the budget, or have you run it by him yet?
Oh yeah, but I don't think it's in the budget. This is
No, it's really not in the budget.
no.
for
I mean, this
current
is
months.
this is our first. You had Vinny Grillo here forever. Maybe his son worked here, but I don't think Oak Hills had assistant pro before. So this is the first, more than likely.
Mhm.
Well, I think we support, at least I support you getting, some help, but I think we just gotta get Mark to comment on it and see the impact on the overall budget.
That's how I see it too.
Mhm.
I agree with Gary.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm kind of seeing it, just to be really frank, Paul, is that it puts us in about a $20,000 a year hole on rental income. And I'm not hearing the $20,000 benefit verbalized. And it may totally be there. And maybe this is where you and I just need to talk a little bit more and I get an understanding of it. And maybe we can involve Jim in that conversation as well, because he's already kind of running this model.
Yeah.
And he might be able to explain a little bit where that extra value comes from.
Well, I think Alan plays golf, and Gary and TJ plays golf, and Jim knows golf, and I think those guys know the value of it because they've been to a lot of golf courses.
Sure.
Yeah, it's TJ. So if I were to weigh in here, I think that probably to me at least, from belonging to other clubs and both I would say public, private, semi-private. I think a big value that we all have to take into account is just the overall experience that an additional staff member, an assistant pro would actually bring. And it could be something as simple as like getting results from the tournaments out. where obviously that's not an easy thing to do. And hopefully with Golf Genius that helps. But even just the organization of tournaments and just a well-run men's club and having a pro and an assistant pro to be able to make sure that experience is good. I think there's a lot of value in that, at least from my perspective and being there. I think that no matter what, disorganization is never a good thing, never provides a good experience. So I think there's that piece of it. Obviously we want to be conscious around money and whatever. And I think that just any successful club, there's just no way that we should expect one person to run everything and be as efficient as possible. So that's just my kind of thoughts behind it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, TJ. I think it's great if we've got, an assistant pro kind of wandering around the pro shop and the first tee and the grounds and whatever. And, there's somebody there that people can ask questions of, and there's just more of a presence. I think that's helpful too.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know we're all looking at this, but I think about it from what are some of the potential threats that we face if we don't have one. And like, I don't know, I look at it and say, all right, well, what happens if something happens to Paul? What if he gets sick for a week or two or a day even? And what if it's a day where there's a tournament that's being run? There's just all these other things that right now, we don't have anybody that could step in and fill Paul's role if Paul were gone for whatever reason. So I think there's some value to that as well.
So do I, TJ. I agree with you. I mean, it's the kind of thing when I have an assistant, yeah, we're out doing labor, but I get to take a weekend day off because I have that guy.
Yeah.
And it's really hard stuff to quantify, to put a number on. You just can't do it. I mean, every club has multiple pros that live on the property usually. It's just too tough to quantify.
No, and I would say it's knowledge. I mean, I have people tell me, Paul, I went out and asked this question. Nobody knows. I mean, and I try to train people, but some simple questions, and people need answers. Just knowledge of the industry, just knowledge of golf, and love golf. Most golf professionals, we love playing golf. We love being at the course. We love working long hours, and like being around people and helping people. And I feel a little bit fortunate in a way because, what the compensation that they're offering assistants is way out of. I mean, if you just call them at PGA and ask what's the base, it's way out of it. It's much more than you would think. There's a lot of assistants making some pretty good money out there. So, and benefits. So that's why I don't really get a whole lot of people inquiring about this job opportunity. They're doing pretty well nowadays.
Same here, same boat.
Okay. Any other kind of conceptual or just kind of clarifying questions for Paul from the group? If not, Paul, let's get kind of practical. When do you need to know like what we're thinking and whether we want to go in this direction? I do think this is kind of a more policy. This is a directional question about how we want to use one of the assets and how we want to have staff interacting with the customers. So those are two really clearly board things, and that's why I'm asking the questions I'm asking. So it would kind of change some of those things, and I think there's a lot of good points for it. So what's the timing? How quickly? Do you...
So I would say this. Let's see. It's May 1. It's really about the housing. The individual I have in mind has a lease. He's willing to ask his landlord, I want it out. I want to give you enough notice so you can re-rent this place. And so obviously, I think, May 1, maybe.
So we would need to have a decision before May 1st. You would need to work through all the HR nuances that we've been talking about.
I would say, well, a moving date could be June 1, but I need someone in May.
Yeah, I mean, also to be productive for your timelines, right? Obviously, it's not going to be April 1, but
No.
it sounds like if you're thinking May 1, it's an as soon as possible sort of decision so that you
Yeah.
can round it out and then move, right?
Yeah, sure. And to be fair I'm a landlord. To be fair to the landlord, you want to give him ample time to put somebody else in that place.
Sure. Okay, I'm not going to support bringing it up for a vote right now. But I do think that there's a little bit more conversation that we can have. We can probably do some of that via email, just as sort of clarifying and asking for more information. And then I'll be in touch with Randy to see if this is the sort of thing that we kind of have to have a public vote on, or if this is kind of a operational staffing sort of thing. And if it's not, then we can just kind of have an informal view of where people are, maybe, and get moving with the decision sooner rather than later for you. I know this is something that you've been talking about since you took over.
Well, I can also tell you,
day one.
yeah, and Ed Ruiz was here before me, and he was talking about it ever since 2012. I mean,
so this would be a culmination, and I think it would kind of change the way, like I said, the way that staff interacts with customers and the expectations that the customers have from the golf shop there. So there's, like I said, I think there's a lot of positive to be said for it. So let's proceed that way. I'll check in with Randy, make sure that this is something that we can kind of just do, and then take the temperature. And if we need to get together for a really quick meeting, I think a lot of this discussion has already been had. Anybody who's not here would be able to, and we could always refresh our memories with the video of this, which is going to be posted. So, I think we have a decent case to be able to move pretty quickly with this.
Sure, and I'm going to do a deep dive with Mark into the numbers and just take a look at the assumptions, basically, what the cost would be, what the savings would be, and what the revenue enhancements would be to see where we actually are budget-wise. I think would be a good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a question. I just wanted to clarify. So is this position something that because you lost Bennett, okay? So Bennett was a very valuable person to you. And you may get him back and you may not. You're working.
No, not getting him back.
Okay, so you're
No.
not getting him back. So this position in one way is going to absorb the position or the finances, the money that you
Yeah.
paid Bennett. So in one way, this person is going to replace money that was already going out to another position. Okay, and then you're thinking of slightly increasing the salary for him or the hourly wage or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so some of the money has already been absorbed in the budget from the past for that one position. It's just that the position that you're talking about is going to be somebody who has a lot more knowledge in the field of, a golf professional. Okay, and so then you're thinking of having the housing as part of that.
Absolutely.
Because he comes from a whole different area.
Well, he's living up the road with a wife and child, and this is appealing to live on the golf course and in a better accommodations.
Oh, with his family.
Yeah, happy with the family.
I see. Okay.
And another thing,
He was single or whatever he was.
and obviously, even if you hire a head pro sometimes, I mean, it's nice to know maybe they have a family and kids in school, and because they're apt to stay longer.
Yeah,
And,
I agree.
Yep. And, my first year, I did have someone who was exceptional, and he went to college. And so I lost him. He might have came back last year, 1 day a week. So I replaced him, obviously, with Bennett. But basically, if I'm the quarterback, I'm looking for the running back And it's hard to win football games without a good running back.
Okay. So one of the biggest considerations is the housing, and we haven't rented that house out because it wasn't in a condition to rent out. So it's really been a wash for that particular piece of property, right? So it's like we didn't lose
Yeah.
income from that house because it wasn't rentable, I guess is what I'm saying.
Not the last couple of years we haven't rented it. And I will say, and Jim knows this, we had a difficult tenant in there.
Oh, yeah.
I can get someone who is going to be nice and loves golf and knows what it's like to be around golf, and it can make a whole difference.
I won't get a phone call because there's a spider.
Or golfers, looking around the yard for a ball. I mean, that's
Right.
not going to happen.
Right.
Okay, I just
But
wanted to clarify.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and as far as a lot of the other jobs out there, the assistant's going to call up, is housing available? It's really one of the first things they're going to ask for numerous assistant jobs in the area. Because it's expensive, gotten more expensive.
Okay. So we'll develop a plan to proceed and hopefully move quickly. Anything else, Paul, you want to say?
No, I think that covered it. We
Yeah,
can
I think
discuss
good
this in
discussion.
person, or, go through some numbers in the future, whatever you'd like to do.
Good deal.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. Last thing up is motion to adjourn.
I just
Oh,
have
unless
one
there's
thing.
any other business to discuss.
Yeah,
Denise,
I
you
just
got
would
something?
like to mention this because we have talked about this in the past. I try to keep it short. I was wondering, because Jim, you were looking at putting signs for the person who the golfers are going into his yard and picking up golf balls. Okay. Can we put a sign that is a Sterner sign on, what hole is it, by the hole number
11.
11?
11.
Can we put a sign with stronger wording that says, a fine or a penalty or something would happen if golfers are, hitting their balls? I mean, I know there's a lot of bad golfers and a lot of it are mistakes, but is there a way we can put a little more emphasis on that at that hole, or do they even look at it? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they do look at it, but how do we enforce it? There's no possible way we could say, hey, you did this on 3 o'clock at so-and-so time, unless they actually hit somebody. I mean, the sign is there. It says, don't do it. They get the message, whether they choose to follow the rule. How do we, I mean, what can we possibly, how do we impose a fine? How do we
don't know.
How do we punish the person that does it, even if we catch them?
But I do think, I'll go back to
the language
the
of the sign. Sorry, isn't the language of the sign that you'll be removed from the course and banned?
Yes.
And I mean, I struggle to believe that anyone is intentionally
Right.
getting onto the tennis court. Even if somebody is cutting it too close, they legitimately think that they can make it over and not hook it, and it's a mistake.
I can tell you, and TJ and I can tell you, I mean, when I got here 12 years ago, I tried it late at night to hit one over, and I did. Today, the trees are way too high, and I just don't think anyone's trying that. And they would rather make a par on the hole than try to hit one over the fence. They're more
I play spade, so it would never work for me. But
Well, Joe, you start it over the course and bring it back into the fairway. That's how you do it. Yeah, I've probably been playing this golf course for 20 years, 25 years. I've never, ever seen anyone purposely try to go over it. And any time that there is something, like I have seen people hook it into the trees, but I mean, for the most part, every single person is hitting a long iron to a wood off that tee. Nobody's hitting a 9-iron or a pitching wedge or a 7-iron. And therefore, that would be the only way that you could actually hit a ball into the tennis courts
Purposely.
without like, yeah, like just trying to do it on purpose. So I don't think there is any, I mean, listen, could there be some knucklehead that is out there with his friends and says, hey, watch this? Like, yeah, probably. But there's just nothing short of putting cameras up, and
Yeah.
that would just be a huge waste of time, energy, money for the one person in probably the next 25 years that is actually going to try to hit it in the tennis courts. So, I mean, unfortunately it stinks because it's just the way of the hole and where it is. And there's some bad golfers out there, and it may happen, but I don't think there's anything that we could possibly do about it.
Oh, TJ, I appreciate you hearing that, but from a tennis perspective, I mean, there are kids out there a lot. There are a lot of adults out there, and there are a lot of balls that are coming in the court, into the courts, the tennis courts. And it seems to me that at least we should come up with a procedure of who to call and some action should be done to find out why. We keep on speculating about why, but I don't know why. And it just seems to me that until you've, come up with when the golf ball comes under the courts, whoever's at the golf center or the tennis center should be able to call someone, hopefully a general manager if we had one, or somebody, and someone should be able to follow up somehow to find out, have a conversation with the golfer and determine what happened and to keep track of it. I think there's a real liability, go back to the safety and insurance issue. If this doesn't happen, if another golfer gets hit in the head, I think we're going to have a liability issue with the situation.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah, I would just to comment on that. So let's suppose that I tee off and I hit a ball and I hook it and it goes into the tennis courts. So obviously I'm not trying to do that, right? But it happens. And you give a phone call to the general manager, and the general manager comes to me, like we find out that it's actually me. We figure that out. And he comes to me and he says, what happened? And I say, well, I was trying to hit the ball down the middle of the fairway and my club face was closed and I hooked it and it hit the tree and kicked into the tennis court.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, what's the repercussion for me for hitting a bad shot? Like, is it, do I get fined because I hit a bad shot? I don't know what. If I'm playing tennis, yeah, I would not want to even think about a golf ball coming in and potentially hitting me. I mean, I'm on the golf course and I don't want another golf ball coming near me. Right? I just don't know what, even if there was someone to call and it happened, I don't know what we could actually do about it.
I will say it did happen a few years ago, and immediately, I think Don was going to tell you about this. Our ranger got in touch with me and Don, and we all three of us, we took a statement from him and we talked to him right away. So there was three of us on that when that happened at that time. And I was also told that was the first time in 17 years.
Yeah, and the guy that hit him.
Well, that's the first time it was reported.
Well, Denise, the guy that hit him too, we found out who it was.
Right.
And the guy, we put him in contact with the person that was hit. And the guy that hit him, he even admitted, he goes, I'm not a very good golfer. It was a mistake. It wasn't on purpose. He couldn't have been more apologetic. I mean, I put them in contact with each other. They talked on the phone. I documented it. I sent it to the authority. I had put everything in writing for everybody. Again, you got a tennis court that's right next to a golf course. I mean, I get nobody's trying to hit the tennis players and vice versa. It's just, I think without sounding, uncompassionate, I think the tennis players have to understand you are playing tennis near a golf course. Balls are if ball gets hit in there, it's not on purpose. It's going to happen. And, at the end of the day, if you're out on the golf course and you get hit by a ball and, somebody else forward and you still get hit, I mean, it is what it is. You kind of take the risk, you kind of know you got a chance of getting hit on the golf course even too. So I don't, to TJ's point, I really don't know what we can do in terms of,
Well,
I think,
unfortunately, what'll happen though is there'll be a lawsuit against Oak Hills Park. Eventually, if it doesn't, something doesn't, I mean, there would be somebody somewhere down the line. If nobody's going to be responsible for it, then it's going to be the park's responsibility.
but if we're that concerned with liability, then we ought to be looking at nets that they have on driving ranges that are tall enough that at least show that we've put up large netting that should catch balls high enough in the air and won't go into those courts.
Well, I think I think we explored that option, and it was, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of like $75,000 to put that up. And I
Before
think
COVID.
that, right.
Yeah.
And so for the amount of, like, does it really make sense to spend that much money for something that, let's just assume one person has been hit in the last however many years it was? We all came to the conclusion, I forgot how many months ago this was, I think we all came to the conclusion that it just didn't make sense to spend that type of money for something that was, this uncommon.
So does our liability policy cover us?
I just don't think, I don't know that the uncommon thing is accurate, because I don't think we know how many times these balls come in. When I talk to the tennis pro, he says it's really regularly. And so this whole issue, I mean, there should be something. I agree. I'm not trying to spend $75,000 at this point, but I do think we have to have somebody follow up when it does happen, so we get a sense of how often this is happening, and someone can at least keep track of it and try to do some investigation. I also think it would be good to put signs up to say that, when balls come in, here's the process, here's the person you call, and be aware that balls can come in at you. And if you're going to play in these courts 1 to 6 at your own risk, because I think there should be some notification that there is that issue, and we don't know how often they're coming in because we don't keep track of it.
Well,
Yeah, I think when we were discussing this at length before, I think the only real solution, and I don't even think that this is a real solution, is you just make that hole a par 3 and you just move the tee box.
Yeah.
And
You
that
put it
would be a
over.
whole restructuring of the golf course. And I think that while we do have tennis, we do have a park, I think that the biggest thing that we have is the golf course. So we just have to make a determination of what is this place trying to be? What are we? And I think that we all came to the determination that it didn't make sense to put up a net. And I do agree with you that I think from a tennis perspective, there should be a sign up there that says, hey, listen, you're right next to a golf course, and understand that there could be potentially a golf ball that comes through the fence or comes over the fence, so that you're playing at your own risk. So I don't know if there is a sign that says that. It doesn't sound like there is, but I think that would be, that might at least take some of the liability off of us from that perspective, because people are playing at their own risk.
So let me kind of summarize and see if we can put this into some sort of action. I think there's a bunch of things that we don't know that would be extremely useful to further this conversation. And let me just kind of round out which ones are on my mind, and then folks can add to that if we think it's necessary. But first seems to be, how often does this actually happen? Rich, if the pro says it's common, I still don't really know what that means. Is it 1 a day? Is it 50 a day?
No, I agree.
We can get a count. I mean, just how many balls are there that people have to pick up? And that might not be a perfect science, but it gives us a sense of just how often it happens. So if Rich and Denise, you can kind of figure that out and let us know, that would be good. I'll send these out too via email.
Sure.
I think another thing is on the insurance question. It's a good question. They know the situation. They walk the grounds, and we just changed insurance agents, and they put us through, questionnaires and everything to understand our liabilities, and they're covering us. But it's something that I can follow up with Mark just to really understand exactly what that coverage is and what the real exposure is for a lawsuit. And not a lawyer. In general, there has to be some display of negligence, and I'm not sure we can that anyone could really prove negligence. Second is other clubs. This can't be the only place in the world where there's a golf course and tennis courts kind of in close proximity to each other. Maybe with a dog leg that kind of could hook over the edge of a tennis court, with trees that can be unpredictable and fly a ball in any direction. Okay, so kind of unique, but there might be other examples of this where we can kind of mine and figure out if there's something out there. I'll be happy to do a quick Google search and see maybe I'll ask ChatGPT.
Sterling Farms,
Sure, Sterling, yeah.
over the driving range net. It happens all the time.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I can find some info on that for you. And surprisingly, obviously, we don't want anyone getting hurt, and we want to be careful of liability or kills. But I've heard some stories out there that are amazing. I mean, I heard a girl was eating lunch at a club in the Hamptons. She got hit in the eye. The club was not responsible. At a high-end club in the Hamptons, we had a situation here on our 9th green, but that was on the course, and I think the golfer didn't allow the guy to leave the green quick enough.
But I think this is an important thing, and that's the next thing, is that I think when you go on a golf course, you kind of understand that there's a risk that there's a golf ball that's going to be flying around. Might be yours, it might be someone else's, and you kind of there's a etiquette there where you yell for as loud as you can. The whole group does. It's a kind of understood thing. It's not really an understood thing when you go to play tennis that, hey, there could be a golf ball coming at you, and I think that's something that people may not even think to yell for, because what are they going to do with it? But I'm not going to try to pretend I understand all those dynamics. But one thing that I think is a great idea is more signage so that people are aware. It can be everywhere, or it can be present, very present at the tennis courts, that this is a risk and you need to have your wits about you. It's different from getting hit by a tennis ball, right? So we can add that as something that's really actionable. And then, I'll refresh my memory on the idea of how much netting fencing was. I remember it was exorbitant. I actually remember a larger number. And then for context, Jim, I think just the cost, and maybe Paul also, the cost of reconfiguring, putting a tee box over kind of on the right there so that it's a more direct shot as a par 3. This is just not even viable to think about, right?
Not for me, and I don't think Jim would like it.
And the golf experience also, taking one off the total par, I'm not sure it makes sense from a golf perspective, from an expense perspective either.
Right.
I think TJ are with you on that. We don't want that to be a par 3.
Yeah.
No, we don't. And
No.
I remember that the tall net, I think it was only 40 feet, or maybe it was 60 or 50.
I
And
think it was
it
40.
was $78,000, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that was before the prices really jacked.
Jim, if you could fish that out, I know you sent it around. If you could fish that out and send it to the current group,
I'll see if I can find it.
that would be helpful, just for the context.
I remember 76,000, and I remember distinctly because Ed Ruiz, who worked here, had netting at his club in Annapolis, which is a lot different from this area. It's 23,000. So we live in Fairfield. Everything's pretty expensive here.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
So does that sound like a good group of things, information we can gather, and actually things that we can do to kind of address some of this?
Yeah, I think the signage is important. I
Yeah.
think it really, and I think that both the legal side and the insurance side, so we say, exactly what the legal or what the kind of
Find out what we're responsible for.
what we're responsible for, so
Yep.
people are clear.
Okay.
I think those are good ways to
I'll-
proceed.
Yeah. I'll send out a quick
Great.
note just summarizing those things, and we'll get all the right people involved.
Thank you.
Of course.
you.
Thank you for bringing it up. I think it's useful.
Okay.
Now can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I know.
All right. I'll second. Thanks everybody for joining. Good conversations today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks for your time.